Episode 36 of the Bulls Recap Podcast. I'm Joe Cowley of the Chicago Sun-Times. You can read me in the Sun-Times. You can follow me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at @JCowleyHoops. So it's probably, I want to say, about 8-9 years ago. This gentleman was in Chicago, left Chicago to go back to his home state, home city, Portland. And I'll tell you what, he's kind of carved a niche out for himself. I think this is probably, I don't know, he'll have to tell us, year 4 or 5 of the Rose Garden Report. It's Sean Highkin, everybody, former Bulls with the, let's see, you did The Athletic with the Bulls.
Yep.
USA Today and NBC Sports, is that right?
And Bleacher Report.
And Bleacher Report, all the Bulls stuff.
You almost got all of them.
I almost got all of them. I know you. So here's the cool thing about you, Highkin. I think your head kind of ran into a wall numerous times with jobs where at the time you're a younger guy and you probably were like, did I even make the right decision? You go to Portland and you've carved out your own niche with, I mean, from the people I've talked to and obviously talking to you, the Rose Garden Report is like blowing up. I mean, it is the Trailblazers' go-to news source. I mean, do you feel that way, that you have kind of created your own thing and it's gaining steam and continues to get more and more popular?
Oh, absolutely. And I would say I would not have described it as blowing up until, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this a lot, but until about a month ago when the Blazers drafted Yang Hansen out of China, which was the surprise pick of the first round of the draft that nobody saw coming, including me or anybody else who's around the team.
Or him, because he was in the stands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And then, so it's not only like there's been a ton of interest because of that level of surprise, but also because the entire country of China is now watching the Portland Trailblazers. One of their marketing people told me over during Summer League that 5 million people in China watched their first Summer League game on TV. So that's a whole lot of new subscribers for your boy.
Yeah. So let's start with Hansen. Mm-hmm. He was on a lot of mock drafts, but in the second round. So it felt like maybe late first round, someone was going to pick him. How shocked were you? And then in the aftermath of it, I mean, how did they – because at first it's like, oh, biggest draft losers, Trailblazers, reach. Them and the Pelicans, obviously what the Pelicans did with Atlanta, just giving away an unprotected draft pick. And then we go to Summer League, and this dude, I mean, he can ball. He gets it. He has a high IQ, by far one of the better passing big men that was in Vegas. How did they describe what they did, and what are you seeing from this kid that may have even surprised you?
So anything that he did was going to surprise me because, look, I'm not going to sit here. I'm not that much of like a draft, scout guy anyway. So even when it's easily accessible stuff like college games or EuroLeague games that you can watch easily, I'm not really grinding a lot of tape before the draft on these kids. I kind of find out who they are when they get into the league. This is especially true of the Chinese Basketball Association, which is not shown anywhere outside of China. So it's not exactly like it's even easy to find game film, which is why I'm like kind of not surprised that he wasn't as high as some other guys in some of these mock drafts, because even like the people that do this draft, analyst thing for a living probably couldn't actually see that much of him. So they just didn't really know what to do with him. And so I was completely stunned when they when they traded back and ended up drafting him. Like, I thought, Kasparas Yakachionis out of Illinois, the Lithuanian kid, was going to be somebody they'd look at, or there were a couple of other guys kind of in that range that were still on the board so when that happened, I was just like, we were all just like, what? And then over the next couple of days, when you start to talk to folks in the organization, it kind of started to make a little bit more sense why they did what they did and kind of what their thinking was. I'll say this, after they did that, I am never paying attention to another mock draft again. Like, as for like mock drafts are for entertainment purposes only. They're not for anything related to, even the ones that claim to have intel about what teams are going to do, none of them had this. Nobody had this.
No.
And so the way that it was explained to me is that a couple of years ago, one of their international scouts went to Hungary for the FIBA U19s. And that was when, like, you know, for the U.S. team, it was like Dylan Harper and Asa Newell and Trey Johnson. And then like Alex Sarr and Zachary Risache were on the French team. So those were kind of the guys that all the scouts that went to that event were looking to watch. And the Blazers international scout that was there went back to his, the front office staff after that and said, hey, you know, there's this 7'2" Chinese kid that maybe we should keep an eye on, like, that I've never heard of before. And so they started trying to find intel. And again, it's not easy to find intel because those Chinese Basketball Association games aren't shown on TV anywhere outside of China. And as you can kind of imagine, the Chinese Basketball Federation and the Chinese government aren't like super transparent and super accommodating to people from the outside trying to go. And so Mike Schmitz and Sergey Oliva, two of their assistant GMs, took a trip out there to actually go scout him in person. And it took them months to even plan the trip, like logistically getting the right visas, getting the right clearances and all that stuff. But then they kind of, they kept an eye on him. They saw him at the combine. He did very well at the combine. And then they brought him in for an in-person workout right after the lottery and after the combine, kind of early on in the draft process. And this is the part that I think is kind of telling. So it was a 6-person group workout. And unlike, I know the Bulls don't publicize theirs, but a lot of teams don't publicize theirs. The Blazers do publicize which players they bring in for workouts, and they let us do media availabilities with them.
Wow, a transparent team. Look at that.
Well, I think they just realize it's good content for everybody, including them. Yeah. But anyway, they had him with a 6-person group. He was the one guy in the group that was like projected as a like second rounder, maybe fringe late first rounder. The other 5 guys in the workout were all pretty firmly projected as late lottery, middle of the first round picks, like guys that it wouldn't have been a huge shock if they had actually taken the 11th pick. He ends up getting drafted higher than any of them. Because the guys in the group workout were Asa Newell, Rasheer Fleming, Jace Richardson, Liam McNeely, and Will Riley.
Yeah, all of them went later.
And those were all like, late first, Rasheer Fleming was the first pick of the second round, but it was all like that's a legit group. It's not like he was either doing a solo workout or working out against, fringe, second round training camp guys. That's a legit group that he was working out against. And apparently they don't let us actually watch the workout, so I can't speak to this, firsthand. But apparently he held his own in that workout, and then they were like, okay, this kid is going to be able to hang with NBA talent. And so they traded back with Memphis. Memphis really wanted to move up to draft Cedric Coward. They got an extra first-round pick out of it, and he was there at 16. And from what I've heard, like, the two teams that have come up repeatedly as, like, being, like, first of all, I don't think he was going to make it to the second round. Like, there were other teams in the first round by this point that were on to him. The one that I heard that I'm not sure how much I believe was Minnesota at 17. That's one that's come up a lot, but that
would make sense with Gobert and his contract. Yep.
Yeah, but like they've been very, Minnesota has made it very clear this could just be spin, them putting it out, but like they really like Berenger, that French kid that they drafted, and he was like their priority. Like they've been putting that out. The other one, and I believe this a lot more, is Brooklyn at that 19th pick because
they have so many picks. Yeah,
they have so many picks. Why not take a swing? And B, Joe Tsai, their owner, has actually been very open about how he wants to turn the Nets into a pipeline for Chinese players in the NBA. And, he obviously has a lot of ties over there. And so he would not have made it to, like, they could have traded back even further if they wanted to.
But not much further.
But they wouldn't have gotten, but I'm saying even if they had traded back further, they probably wouldn't have gotten him. And if he was I think 16 was, probably the furthest back they'd be able to trade. But then you get to Summer League, and honestly, all I wanted to see out of Summer League with him was physically. Because I remember like last year we had Donovan Clingan at Summer League, and you could tell that like the conditioning wasn't quite all the way there yet. And like he looked good defensively. He did all the things that he ended up doing his rookie season as far as like his rim protection and his rebounding and stuff. But it's really hard for a guy that big to go from college level conditioning to NBA level conditioning. So I just wanted to see if Hansen could hang physically with these, NBA level guys and like faster guys and more athletic guys. And so if he had just been able to not get played off the floor, I would have considered his summer league a success, let alone what he actually did at summer league, where, to your point earlier, Joe, some of those passes he was making, like, I understand why people are comparing him to Jokic. He probably never going to be as good as Jokic, because it's impossible to ever say anyone's going to be as good as a 3-time MVP and like first ballot Hall of Famer. But he's, I think, one of the first guys coming up that is going to say, like, Jokic was one of his guys and he grew up watching Jokic and modeling his game after Jokic. They play the same style. He throws the same kind of passes. And the thing that I think impressed me the most about him is, and you know where we sit at Summer League? We sit like right baseline, like behind the basket, close enough that you can hear everything that's going on the court. He does not speak like basically any English in his everyday life. He has a translator full time. He maybe knows like a handful of words and stuff, but he knows enough basketball terminology that when he's out on the court, he's directing traffic and he's yelling like cut and get back. And like he's yelling things out to his teammates and they can understand what he's saying. Like he knows enough of that kind of stuff that he's able to be vocal on the court, which is pretty impressive for somebody who doesn't even speak the language.
So how does he, I mean, obviously he's a rookie and we don't know how it plays out, but it seems like he's not redundant with what Klingon does.
No.
They can play together because of his passing, high-low, because of his understanding of spacing. Obviously I think we all have to see what his outside shot turns into, if it develops, where that's at, for them to really be successful as a duo. But you see more and more NBA teams, because of the versatility of a lot of big guys, it's not taboo anymore to put two bigs out there. Hartenstein and Chet, Oklahoma City did it. So how do you see those two working? And is there a future where, Klingon was the first round pick last year and they went big again this year with Hansen, but there's a method behind this madness because that's the way the league is going. And Yang might be the versatile piece that makes it work.
So I actually don't know if they're going to be able to play together. And in fact, I asked Chauncey Billups that at his introductory press conference a couple days after the draft. And Chauncey just outright said, no, he doesn't see them playing together.
Okay.
So, I mean, honestly, like as somebody who's just curious how it would look, I would like to see it, but it sounds like that. It sounds like they're not really thinking that way. Maybe if they were still approaching this year as like a rebuilding year where they could just kind of throw stuff out there and try stuff and it doesn't really matter what they do. Then, that would be something they could look at. But they've been very clear, both with, they traded for Drew Holiday last month. And then last night, I was actually at Damian Lillard's like reintroduction press conference because he came back. And Joe Cronin, their GM, said that it's winning time in Portland now. So they're trying, for your purposes, they want to give the Bulls that pick next year.
And that's what I was going to bring up is Portland and Chicago, I thought, probably from December-ish to end of February, March, were kind of very similar on the same track as far as both of them were competitive. Both of them were trying to win games. And I would say that the moves Portland made screams, even Dame, he might not be able to play next year. Right. But they're saying Scoot and Drew and these guys are going to get the car ready and warmed up this season, and then next season Dame jumps into what they feel is going to be a playoff-ready team. Is that the plan? And do you see, as nasty as the West is, it makes sense. It works.
It's tough to project that they're going to be a playoff team in the next couple of years because you just look at the West and it's just so it's not like the East where like if this exact roster was in the East, like I think they could probably be a top 4 seed just because the East is so top heavy, especially with Boston and Indiana not going to be factors next year because of the guys that they have injured. But I'll put it this way. I think they figured out halfway through last season because remember they were what was the rest? So they were really bad the first half of the season last year.
Terrible,
And then they went into the season last year thinking that they were going to be one of the teams trying to get Cooper flagged. They thought they were going to be, Utah, Charlotte, Washington, like that tier of, guys that were of teams that like that was their goal going into the season. And then around the midway point, they started winning. And they felt like the way they started winning was pretty sustainable because they were doing it defensively, and it was a lot of their young guys, whether, it was Denny Avdia or Toumani Camara or Scoot Henderson and Shaden Sharp making leaps. It was a lot of the young guys that they see as their long-term pieces that were the ones driving the winning. And so they felt like, okay, this is actually, we might have some, Chauncey Billups, who I think everybody thought was going to get fired after this past season because he was in the last year of his contract and everybody kind of knew he wasn't going to be the guy. He, I think, grew into the job a lot. He ended up getting an extension and, everybody's really happy with him moving forward. I think they figured out by the end of the season, whether they are a playoff team or not, they are too good to, like, they could not even tank again next year if they wanted to because they have too much talent.
Right.
So they are figuring out, like, okay, I guess we might as well just let these guys, let these young guys try to win. Bring in a guy like Drew Holiday, who, he is a winning player. He's a player you trade for if you're trying to win more games than you won last season. That's the last two teams that traded for him. That's what their goal was. And just see where it goes. And, then the Dame thing makes it kind of interesting because who knows what he's going to look like when he does play. He is not going to play this upcoming season. They haven't said that outright, but he's not going to play this upcoming season. But the history, and I know, Dame fully believes he's going to come back like good as new, which, I fully believe him that he believes that. But the history of small guards at age 35 coming back from a torn Achilles, like look at even like Kobe's one of the all-time greats. He was the same age when he had his torn Achilles. He was never the same guy after that. And then you look at guys like John Wall, Klay Thompson. Really just Kevin Durant is the guy I can think of in the NBA that was like a superstar at that level that came back from a torn Achilles and he was fine, but he was 5 years younger than Dame is. So I don't know how much and we're not going to know this like until, a year from now, but I don't know how much you can actually reasonably expect Dame to give you. But it's a good story on a personal level because like he gets to be back home with the kids while he rehabs and he for the fans it's great closure after kind of the way that the exit went in terms of like the back and forth between him and the front office and all the Miami stuff and whatever. But talking to Dame yesterday at the press conference, he seems like he knows what the deal is. He knows that it's about the young guys. He's just coming here to kind of be, obviously he still thinks he's going to be able to come back and play at something close to the level he was at, but he isn't coming in here expecting it, to be everything to be catered towards him the way that it was before he got traded. So I don't know if I'm comfortable saying like, oh yeah, I think these guys are a playoff team. I think their ceiling in the West, because the West is just so tough, is probably like a 9 or 10 seed, depending on how injuries go with some of these other teams. But again, I think for your audience, which are Bulls fans, the Blazers would be very happy if they gave that pick to Chicago next year.
Gotcha. What Scoot Henderson? Were the expectations too high, or can we label him kind of a bust as of right now?
I think we're out of bust territory with him. Like he's an NBA player. He's an NBA rotation player. Like I think we're out of bust territory. I don't know if he's a franchise guy the way that he was kind of portrayed as when they drafted him. I think there was an element of expectations being too high. And I also think, the point guard position is tough for 19 or 20-year-old guys to learn when they first come into the league. That's the hardest position to learn. And, you're looking at when you're talking about guys who come in and are that good right away, that have those types of expectations that young at that position, you're basically talking about like Derrick Rose when he came in his rookie year, Kyrie Irving when he came in his rookie year to Cleveland. And that's kind of it. Like even guys like De'Aaron Fox or Darius Garland, who were also
took a couple of years to mature.
Those guys, go back and look at those guys' stats, their rookie seasons. I also think, and I can actually speak to this now because I go to a lot of G League games now because the Blazers G League team plays like 10 minutes from my apartment. And so I've seen how, the level of competition that Scoot was playing against when he was at the Ignite. And every team in the G League has a center who's like 6'8". And so it's really easy for guys like Scoot who are good athletes, but not like John Wall, prime Russell Westbrook level athletes to look like Ja Morant against that type of competition. And so I think a lot of people maybe saw that and over-indexed a little bit on that. But I do think Scoot got a lot better, especially the second half of the season last year. Like, his shot improved. I think the finishing is the thing that still needs to be there. But he's the playmaking, I think, is there. He cut down on the turnovers a little bit. I think he's going to be fine. I don't know if he's going to be an all-star, but I think he's going to be fine. I think we're not talking about, he's beaten the Emmanuel Mudiay allegations. I'll say that.
Okay. So you, you've been out of Chicago for a minute now.
Yep.
I know you know the league and still watch the teams in the East, the Bulls. And the funny thing is, I'd say probably the last year, the question I hear from whether it's media, whether it's other teams' executives or scouts is usually the same. What the hell are the Bulls doing? And I mean, we see their newest plan. I mean, this has been kind of reboot, journey, different path, year 3 in the last 3 years. Try and trade Zach was a couple years. First, it was continuity. Then it was try and trade DeMar and Zach, but we're not tanking. We're trying to do this on the fly. And now it's this kind of modest has to hit. He's our future. And we've got the decks cleared financially for 26. So that's the newest one. They changed their pace of play. They changed their shot profile, all that stuff, commend all that stuff. They still don't have that dude. They still don't play very good defense. And we saw in the NBA Finals, defense kind of matters. We saw throughout the entire playoffs, defense kind of matters. What is your perception of what the hell is going on in Chicago from a guy that used to be behind the front lines to now a guy that's way out in the beautiful Northwest?
So I do still pay attention to the Bulls to some degree. I listen, your podcast is actually one that I listen to somewhat regularly. I listen to Jason Goff, our mutual friend, his podcast on The Ringer. So I do, I'm still in a group text with Cody and Friedel. So I do keep up with what's going on, but I don't know. I mean, I think the Bulls are kind of still doing what they've been doing this whole time. They want to stay relevant enough to maybe be able to get a couple playoff games worth of gate revenue, and they're kind of good with that. That's just kind of the vibe that I get out of it. The thing is, in a vacuum, I don't hate a lot of the moves that they're making. I just I don't know what the idea
the end game is. What is the finished product where you say this is our new group? Going back to the 21 season with when they put this first group of they thought Avengers together.
Right.
So how does this thing end now? What is modest obviously is huge, and financial freedom in 26 is important, but it's no longer, it's a fugazi almost. It's no longer once we get to 26, look at the free agents that are listed. We're going to go after that. With all the sign and trades.
Carmelo in 14.
Issues, yes, exactly. Those days are dead. And I'm going to get to that in the rant. The idea that this team is beating their chest that they have financial freedom in 26, because financial freedom's a big fugazi. But, to your point, how does this end? Does it end with modest has to hit? I mean, it seems to me that's it right now. Obviously, I think they're going to resign Josh Giddey. It's just a matter of what price. Kobe White, they let him walk. It still just seems so scattered.
I will say I do like that they're not just handing Josh Giddey the extension that he wants.
Finally,
the restricted free agency market is. That's usually the way that would go. Would be just he said he wants $30 million a year, and it's like, well, we traded Alex Caruso for him. We better just give him the money, even though there's nobody else that can do that. I do think they do have some interesting, unlike I do think overall I don't really know what they're building towards. I do think they have a couple of guys that at least are sort of intriguing. I actually saw Essinge back in October. The German team that he played for played a preseason game in Portland against the Blazers, so I actually saw him there. I thought he looked pretty good there, but he's definitely a 2 years away from being 2 years away type of guy. So we'll see how long that takes. I actually have to take a pretty big L on Modest because, I mean, like I was saying earlier, I go to a lot of G League games. And the year that he and Holland were with...
they were horrible.
They were horrible. they were with the Ignite. I went to they played against the Remix 2 games in a row. I went to those games. I thought Modest looked terrible in those games, and I came away from it being like, oh, I don't think this kid's any good. I wouldn't draft him. And so when the Bulls drafted him, I was just like, oh, okay, that's I didn't think that was going to work out. Turns out, maybe just this could also just speak to how it took Scoot a little bit of time to get going, and you look at other guys around like maybe the Ignite just was not the best developmental environment for guys because Modest looks like I don't know if he's going to be like a all-star or like a franchise guy, but he looks like he's going to be pretty good. So they do have.
I think the G League Ignite thing. I mean, obviously
there's a reason it shut down.
Yeah, I think it was just to roll the ball out. You guys do what you want to do. I think it was just basically an AAU team, and probably bad for the development of some of these guys. Now that we're looking back on it, that actually started off before that year with G League Ignite, where this is the next guy. Modest.
Who's the best player? Which player that's come out of the G League Ignite has had the best NBA career so far? Is it Dyson Daniels?
Probably Daniels.
It's probably Dyson Daniels. Like Jalen Green, like some people like him. I'm not a huge fan of him. Kuminga.
I mean, he's 30. He's 35 one night, and then where the hell are you the next?
Right. Exactly.
I mean, all kind of talent, but again, it goes to that idea that Daniels probably had some self-discipline before that season with G League Ignite as far as defense and what he wants to be, where these other guys went there with an idea of their skill set and athleticism, and the ball was just rolled out, and it was just go get it, boys. Yep. And it just felt like it was terribly coached. Guys' stock draft actually went down playing with G League Ignite.
Yeah.
And their skill level, it seemed like, went down. And so it's really tough to judge under that situation. So, how long did you spend in Summer League? I was there. I busted out after, I want to say the third Bulls game or whatever it was. Who stood out for you? What were some other guys that kind of caught your eye? Because I know I got my 4 or 5 guys that I went into really wanting to see, and whether they disappointed me or not. And your guy was one that jumped out where like I was like watching him on TV. I was like, I got to watch this kid because you see what he did the first game. And, who are some guys that you said, okay, he's who I thought he was, or whoa?
Well, I mean, the obvious one was Cooper Flagg, where it's like I was as curious as everybody else to see him, and I was just like, yeah, they shut him down after 2 games. It's like, all right, he's. They
could have shut him down after that first game. I saw enough that first game where everyone's like, oh, well, you shot this. The dude just said, look, I'm going to put up 21 shots and I'm going to make winning plays, even if I'm not shooting well.
I was at the Team USA stuff last summer before the Olympics when he was on the select team, and you were hearing like Kevin Durant and Jason Tatum and these guys talking about like, no, this kid's got it. So that was one. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just like being obvious here, saying all like the high.
No, that's fine.
But I thought Dylan Harper looked pretty good in the game that he played against Flagg. Like he's going to be good. VJ Edgecombe, I thought was pretty impressive. And then. As far as like lower draft picks, Nick Clifford, who's in Sacramento, I think he's
played well.
Little bit of an older rookie, but I think that's one of those guys that he's going. You just watch him. You're like, this guy is going to be, whether he's an all-star or not or whatever. This guy is going to have a 12-year NBA career and be a productive rotation player.
Yeah,
that's those are the guys that kind of stand out in Summer League. Where some of the like when it comes to like the higher level guys like. Sometimes it's like, oh, there's a lot of good scoring numbers, and it's just it's just kind of a glorified pickup game. But there are some guys like, and Nick Clifford is one of those where I was just like, this guy is just going to be a good NBA player because he knows what he is. He's not, he isn't going to come in thinking he's like a star, and he just does productive things when he's on the court. So those are the kind of the guys I like. I thought your guy Modest looked pretty good overall. Although when you're in your second year playing Summer League, you better be too good for the.
You better look good, yeah.
And then Essinge, from what little I saw, like he was terrible his first game. I think he was a little bit better after that, but again, he's going to take some time.
Physically, his body's just awkward.
Yeah, and the
thing is, the funny thing is he might grow 2 more inches. He might be a small ball center. Who even knows? I mean, because you just don't. He's 18 and he's all legs, and he's just very kind of just physically awkward still. So I'll tell you the guy I was excited about because. When Cooper Flagg missed those couple games with Duke, I was a big – I usually hate Duke, but I was watching Duke obviously because of Cooper Flagg.
Sure.
I was all excited about Con Knipple.
Oh, Con looked good too. I forgot him.
Yeah, Swirsky and I were big on draft night. We were both talking about what if the Bulls could trade up and get Con Knipple, because I just think he is kind of jack of all trades, winning basketball player. He might be master of none, but he's jack of all trades and just wants to make winning plays. And to see him actually go out there and do that again in Vegas, obviously he still has to make the next leap, which is going to be fall camp and stuff. I think Charlotte finally has an adult there that plays adult-style basketball instead of this playground bullshit that LaMelo likes to play. And hopefully LaMelo and he can coexist and feed off one another and get the Charlotte thing going in the right direction, because they got pieces now. I mean, you look at Charlotte, you're like, especially in the East, they got pieces. So that was the guy that I was like, I want to see what it looks like in Summer League, and I was very happy with what I saw in Summer League. And
Liam McNeely looked pretty good for them too.
Yeah, McNeely too. Yeah.
If they get, if Brandon Miller is healthy, he had a pretty good rookie season and missed a lot of last year. Charles Lee seems like a good coach. It seems like they made a good hire there. Yeah. They're not a team anymore. I think it's probably still going to take them a few years to be good, but they're not a team anymore where I look at them and I'm just like, there is absolutely
laughing at them.
I think Utah is kind of the only team in the league like that anymore, where I'm just like, I don't like any of these young guys. I don't know what they're doing. I guess Brooklyn to a lesser extent, just because they have so many young guys and you don't know if any of them are good. But Charlotte, there are still some things I think they need to figure out, but I like the way that new front office has come in and started putting it together and turning it around a little bit. And yeah, Con Knipple definitely, he was a guy that I was thinking about before the draft or before the lottery of if Portland moved up not high enough to get flagged, but in the at least in moved up into the top 4, he was a guy that I think would have made some sense for them. So he was somebody that I had looked into a little bit. So what's the last concert you saw before I get you out of here? I know you're a big music guy. You and KC are both big music guys. What was the last concert I saw? Actually, when I was in Soldier Field, I went to when I was in Chicago for the Combine, I went to Beyonce at Soldier Field just on a whim. That was pretty good. Oh, that was pretty cool.
Look at you spreading your wings and going all over with your music taste.
It was good. It was good.
All right, Sean Highkin. Everybody, the Rose Garden Report.
Yep. Do it.
Sign up for it. Especially if you're Chinese. Yang Hansen. Love having Highkin on. Road Highkin. We used to call him Road Highkin. Highkin, it seemed like he was never able to travel with the places he was. Bleacher Report, USA Today, NBC Sports. He gets the Athletic, and they finally let him off the leash and let him come on the road. And he was always at home games, pretty quiet dude. Like to, talk ball. But on the road, wild man. That's why we called him Road Highkin. That was his nickname. All right, let's go to the rant. I kind of touched on it. It's great, this idea that Mark Eversley put out there of financial freedom. He should have been more specific, because I know he knows. I don't know if the fans necessarily know. Financial freedom after this upcoming season, because you got Vooch's contract done, Zach Collins done, Kevin Huerter done, Kobe, he's not re-upping this year. He's going to go to free agency. Who am I missing? Javon Carter, his contract's done. I said Vooch, yeah. So all these guys, all these Io, his contract's done. So all these guys come off the books. Well, look at the list of 26 free agents. We got LeBron, Trae Young, Wiggins, CJ McCollum, Zach LaVine, James Harden, Draymond, De'Aaron Fox, Luka. Who knows what the Lakers do with Luka? Dyson Daniels is restricted. He's not going anywhere. So all these names that are out there, it's meaningless. If you look, the way the aprons are set up, if you look at the habits of teams the last probably 4 years preparing for this apron in the CBA, it's been the same thing. If someone's gonna go somewhere, a free agent, it's gonna be a sign and trade. So you have to work the trade route. The days of just looking at the free agent list and going, we're going shopping here. Like I said, it's a fugazi. So don't get caught up in the names of 26. That doesn't mean the Bulls can't add a star. Can't find that dude because they have the financial freedom to make sign-in trades. But this idea of look at the list of 26 free agents and we're just going to go shopping, Take that out of your head. That died about 4 or 5 years ago when the CBA was up and they decided on these aprons, and that's where everything is. They have to be creative in this. It's no longer just here's our money, take our money. You have to be creative in this because of the sign and trade. So, Mark Eversley, you probably should have sold that a little bit better than you did by instead of just saying spend. Let's go to the list. These are the 5 Bulls players that I think will likely be traded by the February trade deadline. Obviously, we'll start with 5. Could go, maybe, don't know. Jalen Smith, Zach Collins. They can't move Vooch. Do they just say, hey, here's a shooting stretch 4? Number 4, you always need shooting. Kevin Huerter. Things aren't going well. I know they love him. They love what he does. His plus-minus was always good, no matter if he played good or bad or whatever. For some reason, when he was in the starting lineup, he was a plus player. And every NBA team is looking for shooting. Number 3, Kobe White. I think the plan is that they're going to keep Kobe White, and it's going to be an expensive ticket. That's where that financial freedom in 26 comes into play. He is going to be their top free agent acquisition. But he could go. Number 2, Io. If they want to clear one more body out of the guard room, it's going to be Io. It's a shame. Love him. I think he's probably their best two-way player, backcourt. I don't even think it's close, to be honest. But I just love his mentality. I like the work he put into his build, his body, his game. Just a hardworking dude who gets it. Probably one of the better Chicago basketball players now. When you look, AD, then we got a drop-off. Might go to Io. Number 1. You guys have been trying to get rid of this man way too long. The Vooch, he's a free agent. And I hope Vooch gets traded. I love the Vooch, but I want him to go to a place where he actually has a chance this late in his career to do something significant and get what he deserves. He has been a soldier. He has had 82-game appearance seasons. He has done everything that's asked of him. He has sacrificed for this organization, for this offense, for this group. He deserves everything that comes his way with another team. So I hope that they can move him and give him a chance, whether it's Golden State, who is a very small and aging team and needs to get bigger, or whoever it is. Wherever he goes, I hope Vooch can get in the playoffs, make a playoff run, do some significant things, and have all the Vooch haters suck it. So that's it. Till next week, I got next.